Have you ever looked at a modern city, like Tokyo or New York, and just thought, how on earth did they build this?
It's so incredibly complex.
Right. Now, imagine trying to do that thousands of years ago. No computers, no modern engineering degrees, not even proper maps.
It's a real puzzle, and most ancient cities we look at, say in Mesopotamia or Egypt, they just sort of grew
So you
organically.
get these chaotic, winding streets.
Exactly. But then you have the Harappan civilization, flourished thousands of years ago in the Indus River Valley, what's now South Asia.
And what we find there is the absolute opposite of chaos.
Not even close, it's an engineering masterpiece. And that's what we're going to get into today, the hard facts of how these cities were planned.
They weren't just built, they were blueprinted, perfectly designed, sometimes 1,000 years before that kind of planning shows up anywhere else.
What's amazing is that nothing seems random. The archaeology shows that entire cities, like Mohenjo-Daro, were laid out before construction even started, planned from the soil up.
Okay, so let's unpack that blueprint. What did the basic structure of a city look like?
Well, almost every Harappan city was split into two main parts. First, you have the citadel.
The citadel, that's the smaller area built up on a high mound.
Precisely. Think of it as the civic center. That's where you'd find the really important public buildings, huge granaries, assembly halls, ceremonial structures.
And then below that was the much larger part of the city.
The lower town, that's where pretty much everyone lived.
But the real genius of the lower town was its organization. I mean, you look at a map of the ruins today, and it looks like a modern city grid.
It's because they used a very strict grid system. The main streets ran perfectly straight, crossing each other at exact 90-degree angles.
Like a checkerboard.
Exactly. It makes a city incredibly easy to navigate, which was great for trade and just general traffic flow. Super advanced for the time.
And that standardization didn't just stop at the street layout, right? It went all the way down to the actual building blocks.
Oh, absolutely. You can't have a perfect city with messy materials. They mainly used mud bricks, either dried in the sun or, for more important buildings, baked in a kiln.
And there's a really specific detail about those bricks that is just unforgettable.
It's incredible. Every single brick, and I mean across the entire civilization, followed a perfect uniform ratio.
Every single one.
Every one, 4 units long by 2 units wide and 1 unit thick. A perfect 4.2.1 ratio.
Wow. That suggests some kind of, I don't know, government quality control or something.
It has to. It means they had trained builders following strict rules, and it made construction so much stronger they didn't just stack them.
They used an interlocking pattern, right?
Yes, just like modern bricklayers. It's like building with Legos, where each brick overlaps the one below it. It makes the walls incredibly sturdy and resistant to collapse.
And baking the bricks was a huge deal.
It was a game changer. They lived in a monsoon region. A sun-dried brick would just dissolve in heavy rain. But a kiln-baked brick is basically ceramic. It lasts.
So durability was built right in. Okay, let's step out onto the streets. The main roads. How wide are we talking?
We're talking massive. The main streets could be up to 30 feet wide.
30 feet. That's wider than some modern roads.
It is. And it had to be, to handle all the traffic they had, mostly these big, bulky carts pulled by oxen.
So you've got these wide avenues running on that perfect north-south and east-west grid.
Yep. And then smaller lanes and alleys would branch off to give people access to their houses. And these weren't just mud paths either. The streets were often paved with hard-packed earth or river gravel.
But even with gravel, a street that wide must have been a mess during the monsoon, all that water.
But they planned for that. This is key. Drainage channels were built right alongside the roads. The idea was to get the water off the street before it could pool and cause problems.
Preventative engineering. Okay, so speaking of that, let's go inside one of the houses. What were they like?
Well, they were built for comfort and privacy. Most homes were at least 2 stories tall, with those same thick, interlocking brick walls.
Which would keep the inside nice and cool during the hot summers, right?
Exactly, a kind of ancient air conditioning. And the layout was really smart. Rooms were usually arranged around a central open courtyard.
So that's where you'd get all your light and fresh air.
And it also provided a private space for cooking and other activities.
And you can see they were really focused on privacy from the outside, too. The windows didn't face the main streets.
A very clever design. It kept out all the noise and the dust from the street traffic. It shows they were really thinking about the quality of life inside the home.
But this is where things get really wild, especially when you think about sanitation.
It is. The consistency here is just staggering. Every single house, whether it was big or small, had its own dedicated area for bathing.
And a toilet. You're saying every single house had its own bathroom.
Yes, a small room with a drain. Some of the bigger houses even had multiple bathrooms.
That is a huge deal. You compare that to, say, medieval Europe, where waste was just tossed into the streets.
There's no comparison. The average Harappan person had better private sanitation than someone living in London thousands of years later.
They were clearly putting a huge priority on health, and clean water must have been a big part of that.
A massive priority. Many houses had their own private wells built right near the entrance with sturdy bricks.
So you had a constant source of clean water right at your doorstep.
Exactly. In Mohenjo-Daro, archaeologists have found hundreds of wells, both private and public. It suggests it's a huge population and a really sophisticated system for managing groundwater to prevent disease.
And beyond the private homes, you have these incredible public structures, like the famous Great Bath.
The Great Bath is just the peak of their water engineering. It's this huge rectangular pool, but the construction is what's so brilliant.
They made it waterproof.
Completely. They used fired bricks and then lined the entire thing with a thick layer of natural tar, like an ancient sealant.
That's incredible skill for that time period.
It is. And it was clearly built for some kind of ceremony. It has 2 wide staircases leading down into the water, rooms around the edges that might have been for changing.
And a drain to empty it out.
A big, efficient drain, so they could keep the water fresh and clean. It all points to this deep importance placed on ritual purity and hygiene.
Okay, let's talk about what I think is the true marvel here, even more so than the Great Bath, the waste removal system.
This is where their engineering insight is just off the charts.
So you have all these drains coming from the houses. Where does the water go?
It all feeds into a larger network of municipal drains running under the streets. But here's the innovation that sets them so far apart.
They were covered.
They were covered, not open sewage ditches. They use loose bricks or stone slabs to cap them. This was so advanced.
So it keeps the smell down, keeps pests out. The city is just a cleaner, healthier place to be.
And because the covers were removable, maintenance crews could easily lift them up to clean out the drains without destroying the street.
They actually planned for maintenance.
Meticulously. They built inspection holes at regular intervals, basically ancient manholes, so workers could check the flow and clear out any blockages.
But what about all the heavy stuff that would clog the system, like sand and grit?
They even thought of that. They designed things called silt traps.
Silt traps, what's that?
They're just deeper sections built into the drain. All the heavy sand and mud would settle at the bottom of the trap, but the water could keep flowing over the top.
Like a filter in your sink.
Exactly. Then a crew just has to come by and scoop out the gunk. It's a brilliantly simple way to prevent the entire system from clogging up during a flood.
Wow. Okay, moving from plumbing to the economy. How did they feed everyone and keep trade moving?
It all starts with food storage. They had these massive buildings called granaries.
These were for storing wheat and barley.
Huge quantities of it. And again, the planning was top-notch. They built the granaries on high platforms.
To protect the grain from floods, right?
Right, and also from pests. They even had air vents built in to keep the grain dry and prevent it from spoiling. This was also how they collected taxes farmers paid in grain.
A highly organized state-level system. And that organization carried over into trade.
For sure. To have fair trade, you need accurate measurements. They used standardized stone weights.
And these weren't just random rocks.
Not at all. They were carved into perfect cubes and highly polished. And they followed a strict mathematical system.
The value doubled with each size up, I remember reading.
That's right. 1 unit, then 2, then 4, 8, and so on. A binary system. It allowed them to weigh precious goods like gold and silver with extreme accuracy. They had standardized measuring sticks, too.
Consistency was just everything to them. Finally, let's talk about the massive walls that surrounded these cities.
Huge walls, yeah, sometimes dozens of feet thick. And while they definitely offered defense, they had watchtowers and gates. Their main job was probably something else.
Environmental protection.
I think so. The Indus River was known for catastrophic floods during the monsoon season. Those massive brick walls were likely the city's primary defense against being washed away.
So the whole city was designed to be a fortress, not just against people, but against nature itself.
Yeah.
It just changes how you think of the word ancient.
It really does. The legacy here is just profound. The focus on clean water, on waste removal, on organized streets. It set a standard for city living that wasn't really matched for centuries, if not millennia.
The ideas are still relevant for planners today.
Absolutely. They are.
It's an amazing reminder that thousands of years ago, People were already figuring out the best, most organized, and healthiest ways to live together in big cities. Smart design is not a modern invention.
Not at all. It's thousands of years old.
See you next time.